All right, everybody. This is Dr. Rehab Director again. I was trying not to make any comments regarding the coronavirus, but I figure it's maybe time to chime in a little bit. Um, let's see. For starters, I'm not trying to minimize what's going on or anything like that, but I do want to just kind of put out a little video about asking people to kind of take a step back, analyze the situation, and just kind of um, chill down a little bit, chill out. Um, First of all, all over the news, it's a pandemic. Yeah, pandemic means that there's something that's affecting a lot of people, and it's affecting lots of countries or continents, right? That's basically what pandemic means. Just because it's titled a pandemic doesn't make it any more or less lethal. It's just the amount of people that it's affecting and how far it's spread out. Okay? This is a pandemic in the sense that it's affecting a lot of people rather quickly, but it's not the pandemic that you see in the news where, it's going to wipe out half the population. Okay? This is not that pandemic. Okay? Uh, this is not anything like the swine flu or H1N1. In fact, I mean, if you look at the numbers, the current flu season is has a much higher mortality to this day right now than the coronavirus. Um, so again, yeah, something to kind of monitor on your own. Doesn't need to be in the news all day, but it's not something that's gonna wipe out the population. Um, the reality is that most of the people may get it, like 80% or more of the people that will get it um, are going to have just mild symptoms like a common cold. These are not the people that need to go to the ER. Um, they can address it the same way as they did before. Call your healthcare provider. But again, don't tie up the resources um, in the ER for people who will have the more severe symptoms based on just this fear that's going on. So again, 80% or more of the people that get it are going to have mild symptoms, just like common cold. No serious effects there. And when you look at the mortality rates that they're using based on the tests they've given. Um, uh, Talking to ER people in the recent days, some of the people that go in, if they have mild symptoms, they're not testing them; they're sending them back out and asking them to self quarantine. Um, and so they might not be, they might have it. They're not officially counted. So the numbers are probably less than what you're seeing as far as the severe effects. Whether you think you have coronavirus or not, I mean, most of the time, what you do with a common cold is you write it out. You you stay home, you isolate yourself, which is something you should do in general. I mean, if you are feeling sick, you shouldn't report to work. You should take care of yourself, rest, drink fluids, try to get better, not put yourself out there where you're going to be spreading whatever you have to other people. I think that this coronavirus is going to be a big learning opportunity for the healthcare environment as far as, how we need to react, things that we need to do, things that we can do differently. Because, you know, down the road somewhere, there's going to be something that's going to spread like this that it's probably going to be a little bit more serious or a lot more serious. So I think that I think this gives the world the opportunity, a nice smack in the hand to kind of say, "Hey, wake up and let's get our stuff together because the next thing coming may be a little bit harder than this, and we're scrambling like the way we are now, and we're creating this mass hysteria around what's going on. People are not going to be able to prepare and act accordingly." I'm not sure where this whole toilet paper thing came on. I mean, I think that it's good to be prepared in general, not just for this, but in general. You never know. So it's good to have some resources available. So a lot of diseases tend to target really young and the really old because of they just naturally have decreased immune systems. This one in particular is not really affecting the younger population as much, like the children, but it is having a significant impact on the elderly. And this is not uncommon for most of the diseases. A lot of the elderly folks just because of age have a decreased immune system. Our immune system over time is less strong. But some folks as well, in that age group over 65, also tend to have some comorbidities. They have COPD, congestive heart failure, kidney issues, and other underlying conditions that kind of, in general, are taxing on the immune system. So when you add something that's an attack on the immune system, whether it's a flu or a coronavirus or a cold, they're just in a bit of a worse situation to have to tackle that. It's like now your immune system is handling all these things, and you add one more thing to it. So depending how hard or how strong this other thing is that's in the mix now, the results can vary. Most of the things that I'm hearing, whether it's on TV or through actual healthcare providers, if you have some of those more severe symptoms, and with that, the main thing is the shortness of breath, because the coronavirus is attacking the respiratory system a little bit more than anything else. Obviously, that's one of the key identifiers for it. That's how they differentiate it within the common cold or the flu or something else. Um, so talk to your healthcare provider, but um, less than 20% of people will have those more severe symptoms, and if shortness of breath is something where it's an issue for you, then you want to definitely, those are the people that should probably make a visit to the ER or to your healthcare provider. Call ahead of time. You don't need to catch anything that's already there, and you don't want to bring anything to the folks that are there that you might be carrying if it's different. So make a call out, and they'll hear your symptoms, and based on what you tell them and your history, they'll let you know to ride it out or go in. Less than 20% of the people will be the ones that will feel the more severe symptoms. And out of that, less than 3% are gonna unfortunately be ones that will have the very severe effects. Maybe most of these folks that are hitting that level are usually the folks who have some pretty severe comorbidities to begin with. They're already in, like I said, their body's already tackling or handling all these other things, and now you add one more thing that might be the one that breaks the camel's back, as I say. One of the main things that you can do to just avoid the situation, and it's the same thing you would do with any common cold or the flu or anything, is just use some common sense procedures. You're going to hear this a million times, and this is probably the most important thing, is wash your hands consistently. If you're out and about, wash your hands while you're out. When you come back home, wash your hands. If you're doing some things around the house, wash your hands. Um, you know, whether you realize it or not, we rub our face, we touch our beards, we eat, we write. Our hands are constantly coming into contact with something, and just because you're at home and your home is clean, hopefully, doesn't mean that it's clean enough for you not to pick up something. So keep that in mind and wash your hands consistently. And this is across the board. If you feel like you're getting sick, stay home. Don't go around spreading whatever you have. Take care of yourself, and that way you can recuperate, hydrate yourself, rest, all those general things that you hear, about what they usually will tell you when you go visit the doctor for something. It applies here as well. I think that it's important, especially as managers, to develop a culture of decreased infection safety procedures. So a lot of times you'll see folks, oh, I can't call out, I need to come into work, and I get that, but really, you're gonna do much better staying home and getting better, so you can be at 100%, and therefore not, therefore not affecting the other healthcare workers who are now, or the other coworkers who are now going to be sick the next few days or have to call off themselves. So the best thing to do with anything in general is isolate it, just like what they're trying to do here. Um, so managers, it's important that you don't use, a disciplinary approach on people when they call out for being sick. Yeah, it increases the demands on the workforce that you have, but by getting the culture of people where they feel they're forced to come into work when they're sick, you're only worsening the process in the long run for your area, your department, and in general. It's not a good practice, okay? It's better to stay home, get better, so you're 100%, and you're not contaminating other people, especially healthcare workers, because we work with the compromised population. So if we're bringing something in and we're moving it around, we're not doing a good service to the people who are already in our hospitals, in our nursing homes, in any healthcare setting. This disease does affect people in long-term care because the elderly in the long-term care are not your typical elderly. I know of a lot of elderly people who are in the community who will run circles around people who are much younger than they are. But these aren't the people that this is affecting as much. The people in long-term care in a nursing home environment, or maybe even the hospital, these are elderly people who have all these other comorbidities, who have the weakened immune system. So they're going to be a lot more susceptible, and their numbers, unfortunately, um, will be the ones that will be more severely affected. I was talking to a coworker, and I've worked in healthcare over 15 years, and even in my personal life, I've seen people pass away for various reasons. Um, but like for example, the flu is something that I hear every year. And full disclosure, I'm not one that likes to get the flu shot, but currently my work situation requires it. But regardless, in all my years of experience, I haven't never lost a coworker. I've never had a friend, or I never had anybody that I know who was healthy pass away from the flu. I've had the flu. Family members have had the flu. Friends have had the flu. And usually okay. However, in all that time, being around the healthcare environment, I have seen how these people with compromised immune systems, don't fare as well with the flu. So, with that being in mind, it's really important to understand that just because you might not be in that group where you're going to be severely affected, or maybe you don't have those risk factors, it's important that we do come across a ton of other people throughout our day, whether it's family members, our parents, friends, neighbors. So, some of these people may be in those risk groups. So it's really important that don't tough it out in a way where you're going to be okay and you're out there running around and spraying it to these people who won't be okay if they get it. So keep that in mind as well. One of the last things I'll say is the media. Okay, here's my little soapbox comment. You guys need to do a better job. I'm sorry, but the media is just adding a lot more dramatization to this in all aspects, and I think in general, not just with the coronavirus in general. They create this sense of mass hysteria, mass fear. Um, that's why people are out there running to get toilet papers. I mean, in the prep situation, I don't think toilet paper is a priority on my list. Yeah, it's important here. You want some, but there's a ton of other things that's more important: food, fluids, maybe medications, that sort of stuff. Um, but my comment to the media is, you guys need to be more objective in everything you do. I mean, there's too much subjectivity, too much of a spinning of an angle. I think that you guys need to go back to the roots where you're presenting information on both sides of the coin, presenting it to the public, and let the public kind of look and pick and choose based on what you're saying and see what makes the most sense. Stop trying to push a specific angle. Don't pick a side. Present good information on both sides, and the truth is going to let the people make the right decision because it'll be apparent, rather than trying to manipulate people's minds. Not just the media. I think a lot of people, like, they're getting bombarded with information and they're kind of taking it at face value. But you got to learn to kind of look at the information, look where it comes from, doesn't make sense, and compare it to other information and see that what's accurate, what's not. So we need to increase the objectivity of the information that's being relayed. That's my number one pet peeve right now in general, with what's going on and healthcare in general. If you think of it, most of the quarantine procedures now are not necessarily about controlling the mortality per se. It's about being able to control the resources available. Okay, if you saw the president's announcement where one of the doctors was talking about the curve of the rate of infection, if in general, the same amount of people will probably be affected regardless of what we do, okay? Over time. What they're trying to do is keep that from occurring too far in the front end. So if this same amount of people get sick over time and spread out, it's less taxing on the resources, less taxing on the healthcare system, less taxing on the day-to-day stuff that we do. That's probably the name of the game, and that's probably why the main thing that we all can do is try to stay as healthy as possible by using these common sense procedures. Cough into your elbow, wash your hands constantly, using hand sanitizer, stay home if you're sick, social isolation, social distancing. so that we can minimize the spread of this and any other thing that might be going around. And in general, people, I mean, I tend to be I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I tend to be very biblical in my thought process and what I believe and how I make my decisions. And First Timothy, it tells us we were not made with the spirit of fear, but with the Holy Spirit. So there's a way that we need to navigate the world as far as how we act and how we react to things. But living with fear, amongst everything that comes up. I mean, there's tons of things that people can be worried about, but we need to drive forward with, regardless of what obstacle comes our way. We need to pull together. We need to, pull towards Christ at all times, and then move forward with that. Now, one thing I will say is that if you're gonna make an error in one way over being overly cautious versus not cautious enough, I think it's definitely better to overreact than in hindsight, regret not taking action. So, yeah, my personal opinion, definitely, over pull the trigger on this one, but that's much better than not taking the shot. So, um, tough decision either way. Hindsight's always 2020. So I applaud the administration and all the healthcare people who had those make those decisions. The government officials as well, because it's not easy. They're going to be critiqued either way, but I think they did what they felt was the best for the overall well-being of the population. So good job, people. But either way, feel free to drop off any questions or comments. Hopefully, you hit the like button and definitely subscribe and share. That's one of the main things I would like, so that I can grow this subscriber base.